I would like to start this presentation with this picture. This picture represents my father and I. It's hard for me to show you this picture and start my conversation with this because not too long ago, my father was kidnapped. He is my inspiration. He is the reason for who I am today. My dad was kidnapped by police officers. Oftentimes, when I share my story, I am asked if he was kidnapped by the drug cartels. And that's a no. He was, like I said, he was kidnapped by police officers due to a political movement. Since that happened, that changed my life. It's been 15 years. This is where I grew up. I grew up in Mexico. After my dad was kidnapped, we relocated to Nebraska. For those that do not know what Nebraska is a state. Oftentimes, I get asked, what's Nebraska? Well, it is a state. Although Nebraska became my home state, it became my reality. It is where my life changed. I had to learn a new language, learn a new culture, and make new friends. I also like to use the analogy that the food changed completely. For example, the tamales became the pizza. The menudo, the pozole became the chicken noodles. The pastel de tres leches became the brownies. And the beans became the French fries. My life changed completely. In addition to that, I had the opportunity to get my education at the University of Nebraska, Kearney, where I accomplished so much. I had the opportunity to speak at the USLI, the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute, which is a national institution, a national conference. In addition to that, I was tokenized. I was the child poster for the university, which it was a privilege. I got all the awards. And oftentimes when people ask me, what was your accomplishment, there's so many of them. And it's hard to remember. However, what I can remember is when I ran for student body president. When I was a junior, I ran for student body president and I got a threat. Anonymous letter that said, Chris, take your name off the ballot before you get hurt. We do not want a Mexican or FAC as student body president. Once again, this changed my life. It made me question who I am. It made me question my reality. It is to believe that individuals know who did this, but they did not do anything with regards to this hate crime. This is where I started to question and think, if no one is here to advocate for me, who is going to advocate for people that look and sound like me? In addition to that, I have had the opportunity to work in Washington, D.C. in the Senate for Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, where I work with Bennet from Colorado, but also I had the opportunity to meet all the senators. I got to sit behind Judge Sonia Sotomayor during her hearings, and I have met President Barack Obama over 5 times. I also taught high school in Houston, Texas, one of the largest high schools in the country, where we had over 5,000 high school students. At the time, I started noticing that high school students, especially Black and Latino males, were not retaining and graduating. And the problem started in the high school. Then I had the opportunity to go to Iowa State and complete my master's and Ph.D. During that time, I accomplished so much. I went to work for SUNY, State University of New York, but I also I like to talk about my experience with a national conference of Race and Ethnicity, who gave me a grant to do a national research, and because of that opportunity, I had the opportunity to become the founder of the National Peer Review Journal. In addition to that, I would like to acknowledge my fraternity, who has been part of my career, as I've been working with them oftentimes. Although I have accomplished so much, over the past 5 years, I have spoken at over 100 conferences in universities, high schools, and people invite me to share my story. Not too long ago, I was speaking at a university, and someone in my audience stood up and said, "You're stupid." My first reaction was to ask, "Why do you believe that?" His response was, "Because you have an accent." What would it look like if I had a Australian accent? I would be sexy. If I would have a English accent, then I would be smart. But because I have my Latino accent, I am stupid. Although I remind you, I have a Ph.D. This is when I learned that if you don't know who you are, anyone can name you. And if anyone can name you, you will answer to anything. Let me remind you again. If you don't know who you are, anyone can name you. And if anyone can name you, you will answer to anything. It is different when people criticize my scholarship than when people criticize my social identities. I also, I came to understand my own social identities, who I am as a person. But also this informs the research that I do today. It informs how I connect with students inside the classroom and outside the classroom. For example, it is obvious, it's visible that I am Latino because of my skin color. But also I understand that my skin color, being brown, means being ugly today in the United States. But also I understand my gender, my identity, and my expressions. I understand how I behave when I'm with men and when I'm with women, especially when I interact in the fraternity and sorority life. I also understand that as a male I have privilege. If I ever want to get married, I don't have to think about changing my last name. If I want to have a family, I do not have to think of the timing for that. Also, being educated, what does it mean? Yes, I have a Ph.D., but also I'm young. At my young age, I'm teaching doctoral master students and undergraduates, and oftentimes I'm challenged by that. So this gives me an understanding of my social identities. My ability, I never came to understand what it really meant, and although I still don't have a full understanding of what it means to have a disability. I learned when I broke both of my legs because I was dancing and doing gymnastics, which I learned not to do that anymore. But that's when I was 6 months and I couldn't walk. I couldn't do too much. Over the past years, as I speak to different high schools and college students, and also understanding my own social identities, my life stories, I came to develop this framework. I came to believe in myself, because if I don't believe in myself, no one else will believe in me. Also, I learned to always have a positive attitude at all times, even when people send me hate notes. I have to enter the classroom, I have to enter the university with a positive attitude. Also, I have to take the courage and risk, not knowing when someone is going to attack me. I learned to be proud of who I am. I learned to be proud of my social identities, but also that I have an accent. I learned to network with people and to have those people skills and to connect with them. Also, through my journey, I have made mentors. I seek for mentors as they help me process and identify what does it look like for me in my future. Through this process, I do a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking. I learned not to get mad, but not mad upset, rather to make a difference. Through my journey, I have made a difference, but also I want to show you the power of words. If we put the alphabet, A being 1, B 2, C 3, D 4, you get the idea. And we have knowledge, hard work, and attitude. Knowledge equals 96%. Hard work equals 98%. And attitude, 100%. So every time you walk into anything, give it 100%. Because that will complement your knowledge and your hard work. Remember, knowledge, hard work, and attitude are going to take you far in life. And one last note that I want to leave you with, when nobody else celebrates you, learn to celebrate yourself. When nobody else compliments you, then compliment yourself. It's not up to other people to keep you encouraged, it's up to you. Encouragement should come from the inside. Thank you.